What is good? Pop up live. Osiris here, stuck in the middle. Let's go. Late night live. Why is this happening? I don't know. I got a couple topics on my mind. That's why. What is good? I got a couple topics on my mind. Let's start out with Trump. Let's get into it. Oh, you know what? I gotta kind of stay quiet for some reason. So I'm all the way in the basement. When I say I'm in the basement, I'm really in the basement. And my wife will sometimes the next day say, "What was all that hooping and hollering last night?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's me recording. I guess I get a little bit louder than I expected. So I'm going to try and keep it a little bit more quiet. Thank you for joining anybody who is still up, or depending on where you are in the world. It might be early morning, but uh good old Donald. Donald spoke at CPAC, and when Donald speaks, I'm not expecting Tucker Carlson, who just spoke at TPUSA, and it was the best speech since Rush. And I'm not expecting Rush Limbaugh in his prime from Donald Trump. I mean, I'm just expecting pizzazz, charisma. That's what we're expecting from Donald, and I think we got it.
And he thinks it's actually a man that knows me almost better than any human being. He knows every inch of me. And he thinks it's actually a very beautiful sight. That's why I like it.
Donald's back. He knows every inch of me, prompting Kyle Kalinske, populist left, to go, whoa. Don't y'all miss Donald? Don't pretend this is the guy who tweeted this is populist left. The people who follow him, most of them are on the left, and they love that. They miss the Donald. They missed everything that Donald brought to the table, really. And it's okay. It's okay. Let's all agree that things were at the very least let's be bipartisan on this. At the very least, things were popping, things were lit, things were live. There was a lot to talk about when Donald was around. Don't tell me that CNN doesn't miss this man. I guarantee you CNN misses this man and all of the news networks. Everybody does. He was a big reason why politics kind of melded into culture after he won in 2016. It was a big revolt for that. But I think it's okay to go back to some of his tweets and remember, I'm going to talk about Donald. He had some substance too. Do not undersell him and his impact. One of the craziest moments, Donald Trump back in 2018. This is a real tweet, y'all. If I want this in the archives of history that this happened. Donald Trump, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, just stated that the nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I too have a nuclear button, but it is much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works. This is Donald Trump threatening nuclear war on Twitter. Literal nuclear, no, not like, oh, there's this beef and it's like Candace Owens versus Nicki Minaj. No. He's tweeting about nuclear war on Twitter. That's how lit it was in 2018. Donald, easy on the depleted and food-starved regime. Now, I think Donald does have a populist string to him. I don't think he meant that disrespectfully to the citizens of North Korea. I think he meant that to kinda get them angry at Kim Jong Un. I don't know how they would find that out since they live under a dictator. The left was having fun with uh, the whole kinda misspeak from Trump, having him hug up on Putin. But when you get to the substance, the left can't meme because there's no truth to it, no backing to it. Donald Trump once said, "We have stuff you haven't even seen or heard about. We have stuff that Putin and Xi have never heard about before," referring to Putin and Xi Jinping, of course. There's nobody. What we have is incredible. He's talking about weapons. There are other stories. This is according to the New York Post. This is allegedly. But I just showed you a tweet of Donald Trump talking about nuclear war on Twitter. So I don't have proof that he said that. This is through the New York Post. It's definitely believable. Let's all agree on that. There are other stories making the rounds too. They're even more provocative. One has it that Trump, noting that Putin seized land from Georgia when George Bush was president, seized the Crimean Peninsula when Barack Obama was president. So he took it. He took Georgia under Bush, Crimea under Obama. So then Trump says, "Hey, Putin, if you try to grab land under me, because you did it under Bush, you did it under Obama, I'm starting to see a pattern." He said, "If you move against Ukraine while I'm president, I will hit Moscow." So Putin, ex KGB, is probably nah. Trump is this stupid dude. He's dumb. He's joking. So Putin's like, no, no way, stop playing. Oh, just stop playing. Trump's like, all those beautiful golden turrets will be blown up. You can't. You don't know. You can't read them. It's like you're playing poker. A similar story involves a couple involving Xi Jinping during his visit, allegedly, reportedly here from the New York Post, visit to Mar-a-Lago in 2017 when Trump famously interrupted their chocolate cake dessert. You know it's serious if you're going to interrupt chocolate cake now. To declare that he had just ordered the U.S. military to fire 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles at a Syrian airbase after the Syrian government used chemical weapons against rebels and civilians. That's when I believe his daughter, I believe it was Ivanka, who was like, we saw the pictures of that's a whole different topic. I don't want to get into if it was real or not, but Trump was like, before you eat that cake, I just wanted to let you know, I didn't want you to choke on it. I got 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles going in Syria. That's not a normal interaction. During that same visit, Trump reportedly told Xi that any military move against Taiwan would be met with an attack on Beijing. Xi, like Putin, is said to have been stunned, like, is this dude for real? Though it is possible neither man believed he was serious, we know that they didn't make a move. We know that Trump was very stern on China. And when you look at it, people try to make it sound like Donald Trump was hugging up to Putin. Look at these leftist, they're uninformed. They can't meme. They're not funny. Jesse, you don't know what's happening. That you don't have any substance. You think that's funny. When you look back at Trump, Russia, what they're very strong in this avenue of space. They're very into cyber warfare, space warfare. They tried to make fun of Trump when he did the space the space wars division. Well, it was actually very smart. Donald Trump sanctioned Russia on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Trump opened up all the natural resources for us so we're not dependent. Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord agreement, climate agreement, and everyone said it was this bad thing. And now it looks brilliant at that time when he pulled out because America wasn't as dependent on other countries for natural resources as they would have been. What a disaster that would have been. And we're living that disaster right now. There's this article that came out, and I'm going to kind of show you why that might have come out. This was an article when I used the word cabal, why it came out. Here's Donald Trump on NATO back in the day.
I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries. And then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia where they're paying.
I'm looking at their faces. Everything here is absolutely true. The United States is paying, more than our fair share into NATO to protect these countries from who? It's from Russia. That's the threat over there. And they are making deals with Russia, cutting down, they're trying to go to this sustainable energy, which I fully support in theory, but not at the risk of national security. So Donald Trump's like, that doesn't make any sense. Somebody explain it to me.
Billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got.
They tried to put that on Trump like Trump was pro-Russia because of that. No, that doesn't make sense. I think the one mistake that Trump made actually was the bad call where we actually funded Ukraine and gave him weapons that actually led Putin to this level. In my opinion, if we're going to keep pumping in weapons and money to Ukraine, then at some point they're more and more of a threat. But when I say the cabal wants him gone, it's because of all of that. The cabal was mentioned here. That's why the participants want the secret history of what happened in 2020 told, even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream. This is in the Time magazine now. A well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules, laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. They were not doing anything unsavory. I'm going to translate that to avoid any issues with YouTube. They were fortifying. They were just fortifying things. Don't worry. Nothing to see here. Through influence, perceptions, working behind the scenes, well-founded cabal, they were just fortifying. And they believe the public needs to understand the system's fragility in order to ensure that democracy, as they define it in America, endures. I guess you could say Putin is just fortifying Ukraine. Oh man, I'm not a Trumpist. I'm not a MAGA. Don't shoot the messenger. Let me know what you think. Oh my goodness, people are so triggered, so triggered on Trump. But you know what? When it comes down to it, this is a survey that was released Friday from the Harvard Center for American Political Studies. So this isn't anything outrageous. It's Harvard Center. And this Harris poll found that 62% of Americans believed that Putin would not have pulled the trigger on this whole thing if Trump were still president. What that shows me, if that's true, it's 38% Democrats. That's pretty significant. There's 38% of Democrats that agree with that statement that, yeah, everything that I just said earlier, yeah, you're right. You're probably right. That takes a lot. Democrats don't typically do that. Of course, 85% Republicans and then 38% Democrats. That's a lot. My takeaway from that is how they're losing the whole plot, the story, the cabal that I just talked about in the Time article. and it's even bigger than that if you define the cabal. They're losing the plot, they're losing the arguments, they're losing the people. And there's only one way to keep everyone in the fold. As you see all the pandemic restrictions, it's weird. It's like it's kind of rolling back and it's kind of not. Kids in many areas are still muzzled. But the big point, the big takeaway from all this was building a framework. Don't be distracted. The World Health Organization will convene member states and leaders of C19 immunization credential technology groups. So this is we're looking at technology and digital side of things right now. They are looking to find a way to unify, a way to certify your medical status. Lois Pace, the Assistant Secretary for Global Affairs at the Department of Health and Human Resources, is in Geneva meeting with that group and other global leaders about a potential treaty. Wow, a pandemic treaty. And they're preparing for the next pandemic. I guess that sounds right. They're preparing for the next pandemic to be even better. And it's not about health, it's about the framework and structure. They weren't going to get the whole framework and structure for the social credit score, digitalizing everything under this one pandemic, but they made some progress. And they're trying to unify it in a global manner. It's clear to us that an important question that needs to be addressed through any instrument is the question of equity. There's that word equity. How that happens, the approach we take is something that we need to discuss with member states starting tomorrow. So they're doing this, pushing this out in the open. This is on Politico, is where I'm reading this from. But you use that word equity, you kind of hide it a little bit. Oh, it's for a good thing. It's for your health. It's for equity. I'm not buying it. They're going to a global system. They're bringing together groups to develop a trust framework that would allow countries to verify whether your V credentials are legitimate. This is on a global level. Interesting. Anita, a while back, who I follow on Twitter, said, what are we supposed to be focusing on? There's too many distractions. And what I would say is, when, there are times I used to play violin, piano, I used to play football up to ninth grade, tennis all the way up through high school. When things go bad when you're struggling with something, you return to the fundamentals. I always think when I think of fundamentals, I think of Tim Duncan, one of the most boring players to watch, but one of the most talented and one of the best power forward / centers ever. They used to call him Big Fundamental. So let's go back to the fundamentals. I know there's stuff going on in Ukraine, the economy, everything that's going on in the world right now, and especially in the US. But the most important thing to focus on right now are just our basic rights. If we don't have our basic rights protected, then we can't fight the battle for anything else. What happened in Canada with the truckers, and we saw bank accounts getting frozen. I think people behind the scenes told Trudeau, you're letting the cat out the bag. Is it really worth it right now? People are looking at this like, wow, I didn't know. There's a lot of normies. A lot of you watching this know that you're not surprised that a government could freeze your accounts. The US can do the same thing. Canada can do it as well. But there's a lot of normies walking around. They were like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that, even if they supported it. And I think people say, hey, Trudeau, is it worth it to let it all hang out there, what we can do on this, especially since they're already all cleared out? The most important thing is the Constitution and what it represents. We have to have rights digitally. Right now, there is nothing protecting us from them implementing a passport system for whatever the hell they want to implement it for, and for them to take our data and do whatever the hell they want to do with the data. That is a vulnerability that is easily connected to social media, to your job, to all walks of life. Do you realize that we are not that far away? We might be one pandemic away, or even less than that, from someone saying, "Oh, you said this online. Let me go tell your employer we don't like that. That's wrong. Think that's misinformation. Let's shut down your bank account." Joe Biden has not lifted his emergency order right now. We could have war. We're on the brink of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine right now. Thankfully, God bless that I'm in the United States and we're safe and we haven't had to go through that. That it doesn't take long for something like this to escalate to full-blown war with Russia or full-blown war with China. That's how this would happen. It would happen step by step by step until 2 years from now, a year from now, all of a sudden we're like, how did we get into a war with China? And when that happens, you can do all kinds of emergency powers. You don't need to wait for a pandemic. Emergency powers, if you don't support this action, this war, we'll shut you down because you're now an enemy. I don't know why this topic is hard to understand, but you can't fight technology. The digital identity stuff is coming. You will, or your children or your children's children will have a chip implanted in their brain. Yes, they will. It's not going to be an option. If you don't get the chip, you won't even be a second class citizen. You'll be a different species. It's called transhumanism. And if you don't jump aboard on that, you're done. So I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime, our children, our children's children. You cannot fight that. That is impossible. I don't know why that's hard to understand. You cannot opt out of this. You cannot stop it. It would be the same as not having a cell phone. How many people don't have a cell phone? It's going to be the same thing. So my point is you have to fight for rights under that changing world. Don't fight to try and stop technology. We're going to have autonomous cars. We're going to have robots in home doing our laundry. There's going to be good things. They'll do your laundry, do the dishes. You have more time to do other things. But I'm not, if you watch this channel, there aren't many things I would say I'm 100% certain on. I don't think I've ever said anything that I'm 100% certain on. One thing that I'm 100% certain on is we will have a digital system. We will have chips in our brains. At some point, the chip will do everything. You don't even need your phone. I'm 100% certain about that. It's just a matter of when. So don't try to fight a losing battle. When you look at these members of Congress, everybody running, the primaries are coming up in many places right now. What is your number one issue? There cannot be anything more important than reforming this digital environment. I just watched Mark Zuckerberg on with Lex Friedman. He's talking about virtual reality for half the interview. In virtual reality, you have no rights. You have no constitution. You have nothing. And they're putting everything in there, the internet, everything. It's going to be bigger. It's virtual, but it's going to be bigger than the real world. It's time to focus and make sure that we have those rights. Because if you want to fight critical race theory, if you want to fight immigration, or if you want to fight anything against the cabal, you can't do it if you don't have rights. I will say the thing that white pills me is no matter what they do, and maybe they will do. What's up? Just this Justin. Thanks for stopping by. Early morning stream. No matter what they do, they cannot interfere. They might interfere on the rights that we have said are God given, but they won't be able to interfere with my relationship with God. So they can do whatever they want. Might end up in the gulags. We might not win this battle. Who knows? I don't know. I feel good about it. But there's certain things that they can do all they want to do, but they can't take. There's nothing more important than this. Let me know what you think. I did a little YouTube short on that earlier today. Had to get that off my chest. It's really getting on my nerves. I think I heard Pompeo I was on Getter and Pompeo said something about, I think his biggest issue was critical race theory or something like that. I was like, come on, man. I'm with you on that being an issue, but if we don't have the right to, how do we fight it if we don't have any rights? How do we fight it? Whether you're in person or virtual reality, you won't have any rights if your whole life and all the currency is digital. I need you to step your game up. Billy G. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to be quiet so I don't wake up my wife. Billy G. Billy G. Oh, Billy continues to advocate strict lockdowns and mandates, saying that if every country does what Australia did, then there wouldn't be a pandemic. Is that right, Billy?
Is it possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Yes, if every country does what Australia did, then you wouldn't be calling it a pandemic. That's all.
Oh, was it funny?
Do you believe it's possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Was that funny?
Say again?
Is it possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Yes, if every country does what Australia did, then you wouldn't be calling it a pandemic. That's all.
He's always smiling, and I appreciate the optimism. I want to laugh too. If everybody did what Australia did, you mean like when Australia riot police were firing rubber bullets at anti-lockdown protesters? You know, people that weren't happy with what's going on?
Do you believe it's possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Say again?
Is it possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Yes, if every country does what Australia did, then you wouldn't be calling it a pandemic.
Oh.
Do you believe it's possible to prevent the next?
Yeah, well, what like Australia did when they killed the rescue dogs, including 10 puppies, over what? That's what you want? I'm just asking a question. I'm not making any statement for my YouTube overlords. I'm just asking. Billy might be right. You mean like when they had nighttime curfews and 1 hour exercise rules in the middle of a pandemic where most people with common sense knew that exercise would probably help you if you could lose weight? That's what you're looking for, Billy?
Do you believe it's possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Say again?
Is it possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Yes, if every country does what Australia did, then you wouldn't be calling it a pandemic.
Oh, like when they introduced a limit for New South Wales, where 5 kilometer radius that you couldn't leave outside your home. That's what you're looking for? Or was it when they built concentration camps, the C-19 concentration camps that are still in use right now? If you are unV'd, you will have to pay your own way for a 2-week stay. Is that what you want, Billy? I'm just asking. Like, I remember this video that went viral. It was from Australia. They let the cop off. They said that the woman had kicked another woman cop in the chest. But Billy, is is this really what you want? People getting choked out? That looked like Mortal Kombat. Like she's just that looked like a finishing move in Mortal Kombat. That's Australia. I think that's what Billy wants. Remember Australia? This is what Billy is. This is what he's talking about.
Every country does what Australia did. Every country does what Australia did.
If we do what Australia
then
did,
you wouldn't be calling it a pandemic.
No, we'd be calling it something else, Billy. They used helicopters in the army. They had drones. They were going zero C-19, lockdowns, thousands of police, fines. Do you remember the video where a woman had her mask off and she had a coffee in her hand and they took the coffee to make sure she really had something in it? That's what he's talking about. While remember this one, while the weather may be nice today, New South Wales Chief Medical Officer Kerry Chant urged people to minimize their time at retail and shopping centers. You can go walk your dog. Don't talk to your neighbors, though. That's about health, huh? This is what you're championing? Billy, I'm not going to go against him. Maybe he's right. Explain to me how you're right, Billy. Whew. Let's take a turn to AOC. AOC in well, let me read this real quick. This Justin, it's just you and me, man, up late at night. He said, I don't think he even believes what he's saying, hence the smile. Yep, he doesn't believe it, and he knows that nobody's going to do a damn thing about it. Oh, before I go into AOC, I just wanted to make sure that it was known that I love life and I hope to be living for a long time. AOC says Texas turning blue is inevitable during campaign stop. And people naturally were kind of making fun of her for it, kind of saying, hey, what are you really meaning here? What are you doing? A quote from Chad Pergram said that AOC mentioned that Texas is turning blue. Inevitable, inevitable. It will happen. The only question is when. We're going to make sure we unionize the hell out of this state. You know what? AOC is right. I don't know what people are thinking or where people are at on this. AOC, when you read into the quotes and see some of the videos, she said it's just what she was saying is it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's good to note. AOC is 32 years old, and yes, she would be just old enough to run for president in 2024, which I think is the end game. When AOC says Texas is going to turn blue, she means in her lifetime. She's only 32 years old. Have you seen the southern border? They're planning to present themselves as liberators to illegal immigrants, saying, we're the ones that did these policies. We're the ones that are going to fast track your citizenship. We're the ones that are going to get you all the benefits and all these perks of being in the country. We know you don't understand the Constitution, and that's good because we're going to violate the hell out of it, and you're going to vote for us. Texas is going to turn blue, y'all, at this pace. Unless something new happens, and I haven't even talked about the indoctrination in schools. I told you about Cassandra McDonald talking about in her area where it's mostly red. She was like, this is a red district. They're woke as hell in her school. Don't think red means anything. The teachers union, Democrats own these schools. It doesn't matter what state they're in. You see them attacking Florida for the parental rights bill. They want to make sure that those schools stay blue. All those factors. Look at what's happened. Recent presidential elections, 2000, 38% presidential, 38 again in 04, up to 43.7 in 2008. This is Democrats, the voting for Democrat president in Texas. They got 43%, 41, back up to 43. In 2020, Black Lives Matter, all that energy, it probably paid off. 46.5% Democrat vote. That's for Biden in 2020. Yeah, it's going to pay off. You've got Democrats fleeing hellholes like certain areas of California, New York. They're fleeing and then going to states like Texas, and they're going to be voting blue. I know there's different stats out there saying that they might change. They're voting blue. When push comes to shove and the word equity is placed out, the people who are moving into Texas right now, they're voting blue. I don't know where people thought she was wrong. You might clown her on flying first class. The people who are voting blue, they don't care. So let me know if you think I'm off base on that. I think she is absolutely accurate on the path we're going right now. I'm going to end with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a real life Tony Stark. His internet company is Starlink, and now it's active in Ukraine. How did it become active? Twitter. The richest man I don't know if he's still the richest man in the world, but one of the richest men in the world. The stock market's going up and down. But I would say one of the richest and smartest and most influential men in the world. People cry out to him for help on politics, social issues, financial issues, legal issues. They go to him for everything, like they raising the bat symbol. Look at this here. Elon, while you try to colonize Mars, Russia tried to occupy Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civil people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address sane Russians to stand. So that was then. And then hours later, Elon Musk replies, Starlink service is now active in Ukraine, more terminals en route. This dude's like a real life good guy hero. And I judge people by their actions. People look at him as a billionaire and they say, yeah, I don't know about him because he's a billionaire. Well, I look at his actions like that. Boom. It's the private sector, too. That's what we're learning. Elon Musk's internet company, Starlink, this is why it's so important. Before Elon Musk, what he just did in Ukraine, what he's done for natural disasters in America before as well. Remember the fires in California? He did the same thing. Boop, you got internet. Has never been done before, could never be done before. The government couldn't do it. Private industry couldn't do it. Elon Musk did it. This is not a joke. This man is changing things for real. Glenn Beck, it reminds me a little bit of Glenn Beck. His listeners raised over $32 million to rescue Christians trapped in Afghanistan. That's a private sector. Glenn Beck. And people, power of the people doing it. The government's not going to do it. We're not relying on that. This Justin said, I'm also a big Elon fan. I am too. No man is perfect. But to see that, I mean, that's crazy. We've never seen anything like that. On Twitter, somebody just said, hey, Elon, can you turn on the Starlinks? We're in Ukraine. We're struggling. Russia took out our internet. Boop, gotcha. That's the power of private industry and power of competition. It's, you know, I would say that Elon has done more to help Ukraine. I'm going to be careful. I'm trying to think about it. He's probably done as much to help Ukraine in the past couple hours as anybody else has in months. Joe Biden went to Delaware. I mean, I don't know. If one man could change the world, it's Elon Musk. I think there are 3 astronauts in the International Space Station right now. Before Elon Musk and SpaceX, we didn't have a way to get up there to get them. Do you know who we went through? Russia. If it weren't for Elon Musk, those 3 astronauts up there, we wouldn't know what we would have. They would be up there. There'd be articles written about they're up there and they're rotating the Earth at whatever it is, 13,000 miles an hour or whatever. And we don't know when they're coming back. I don't even know what space stuff is up there. That's why I think they can't touch Elon. Elon's going up against the SEC. That will have to be a separate segment. He's been going to war with them for a long time. But I think the number one thing why they can't take Elon down, we heard Joe Biden say the word Tesla for the first time ever. The reason why is Elon Musk is probably so integral to the defense of the United States from a space standpoint. Remember, China launched that bomb that went, or it was a test bomb that went into low Earth orbit. Nobody on the planet would have a better idea of who to get, how to find out, how did China do that, and to make sure that we can do that too. Let me know what you think. Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend. Need to do an Iron Man remake for this man right here. I'm not going to do that. You know what? I'm going to do one more. I did not plan on talking about this, so I'm going to share my tab. But I thought about it when I was talking about Joe Biden. It was funny. I did a video a while back, and it was kind of, I thought it was kind of funny to talk about Biden and Harris and the wars, political wars they're going back between them. But now we're on the brink of disaster. Things need to be de-escalated immediately because you can't have NATO get involved. NATO is America. So if NATO gets involved, now we are at full-blown scale war. And I don't know what China's going to do. The real concern isn't even Ukraine for me. It's China and Taiwan. If China goes into Taiwan, it's full-blown World War III, everything's on the table. Period. That's how important Taiwan is. Ukraine is not that important. And so if you have family there, that's not praying for people of Ukraine. A lot of people are showing courage in Ukraine, but it's not for America's interest. It's not the same as Taiwan. Taiwan must be protected at all cost because of the chips they make there, and whoever controls the chips controls the present and the future. I said it before, if China takes Taiwan, just go online, get your Duolingo app, and start learning Mandarin. And I'm not joking. We don't have the language translation apps yet to just talk freely. We'll just have to learn Mandarin. But now it's not a joke anymore. Lawmakers react to Biden's, Harris's differing statements on sanctions. Obviously, they're not communicating. Like, things are too serious right now for this. If we did have a legitimate Congress, impeachment is not supposed to be a weapon to use by one political party. Impeachment is supposed to be used when it needs to be done. This is something that if we had a legitimate, I tweeted the other day about Eric Swalwell. We have a sitting member of Congress, an active member of Congress, who for a fact, I'm not saying allegedly or a fact, was compromised by a Chinese spy named Fang Fang. It was the nickname. I don't think that's the real name or whatever. Compromised by a Chinese spy. He is still on the House Intelligence Committee right now. We are not a serious country. Joe Biden can hardly speak. He's going away to Delaware in the middle of a disaster. I have no idea what he's going to talk about Tuesday at the State of the Union address. He would be impeached in a bipartisan manner. Not Trump. Trump would not have been. Biden would have been. So here we are. People are saying openly, I don't think they're communicating. We don't think they're communicating. Here's what happened. Biden said no one expected sanctions to prevent anything from happening, as he announced new sanctions on Russia in response to its invasion. The reason why Biden has to say that is because nothing's going to happen with the sanctions. They're too late. It's well beyond the sanction point right now. So he can't say, oh, I thought they were going to do something and they're not going to do anything. But then his team hates Kamala Harris's team. I did a video on my channel about that. Kamala Harris took a different tune. She said the purpose of the sanction has always been and continues to be deterrence. They aren't communicating. That's a simple communication, much less like any type of integral, like, what is she ready? Like, if something happens with Biden or what? That's not even on the same page. That's not even close. If they don't believe that the sanctions are effective, then why are they doing them? Good question. I'm more concerned, like, why aren't you on the same page? It's evidence. China's watching, Russia's watching. They're like, this is a clown show. Biden wasn't on the same page as the defense, DOD, Pentagon. Pentagon said, we warned Biden about this. Biden's like, I didn't know. I never heard that. This is matters of life or death. We had servicemen and women killed in Afghanistan. Where we can, this is something that it should be bipartisan. Tom Cotton is an establishment dude, and it's just time to forget about establishment. This is just like, this is not good. That can't happen. So Biden, in the end, made the right statement. Kamala was off on that because right now you can't make that statement because it's not going to deter anything. So I wonder if the Biden team even thought, like, Kamala, I mean, obviously we're not going to use the deterrence line anymore because he's in the middle of doing it. But yeah, Kamala's a mess, but they're both a mess. Let me know what you think. Late night stream. That's all I had. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. I'm going to try to go to sleep. I'm going to try to sneak upstairs. Hopefully my wife is not awake. Well, I do have one more. I want to try to end on a happy note. For a while I was doing What are you grateful for? This one, I just saw this on my boy Will Cormier's page. So I wanted to show it just to end on a happy note here. It's I'm gonna definitely show my son tomorrow when he gets up on this one. So it's I got it from Will Cormier, and it says, "Would you like to see a tiny baby turtle react to getting its tummy washed?" Yes, 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 you do. That's what I'm gonna leave you out on. I'm gonna show him as soon as he wakes up tomorrow. A little baby turtle getting its tummy wash, and so I love showing my kids these. They love animals. I love showing them these little things because they'll be like, "Oh, that's cute." And I do want them to respect nature and animals as they grow up. That's one of those little videos they knew was going to go viral. Thanks for everybody who stopped on by. Late night stream. Sometimes that's the only time I can even record. So if you're wondering, like, why would you do it now? If I don't do it now, it ain't going to happen. That's why I'm going to do it now. But thanks a lot for listening. Take care.